You won't believe what nearly destroyed his bones, his heart, and his memory. And he thought he was doing everything right. George was 67, sharp as a tack, and the kind of man who always read the labels, took his supplements, and walked a mile every morning. When he showed up in my clinic after a minor fall, I assumed we'd be checking for a sprain, nothing serious. Instead, we found something that shook him and me. A clean break in his hip, the kind you don't expect unless someone's been living with fragile bones for years. And George? He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Doc, I eat healthy. I even eat sardines 3 times a week. Aren't those supposed to be good for me?" That question sat heavy in the room. Because George wasn't wrong. Sardines, those little silver fish often overlooked on dusty supermarket shelves, are packed with some of the most powerful nutrients for seniors. Calcium, vitamin D, omega-3s, phosphorus, selenium, B12. And yet, his bones had failed him. Something didn't add up. So I started digging, not just into George's case, but into the wider question that haunts many of us past 60. Are sardines really the superfood we've been told? Or could the wrong kind, eaten the wrong way, silently harm the very organs we're trying to protect? Bones, heart, brain. 3 pillars of your health as you age, and sardines, believe it or not, touch all 3 in profound and sometimes dangerous ways. I want to show you what I found. Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through the surprising science behind this humble food, how it can rebuild brittle bones without a single pill, calm a restless heart without more medication, and nourish your aging brain in a way few foods can. But I'll also show you what most people get terribly wrong. Because George isn't alone. I've seen sardines help some patients walk again without pain, and I've seen them hurt others who thought they were making the right choice. So if you're over 60 or love someone who is, stay with me. This tiny fish might just be the most misunderstood food in your pantry. But first, have you ever eaten sardines regularly, or maybe you've avoided them for years? Let me know in the comments. I read every story, and yours might help someone else. Let me take you back, not decades, but centuries. There was a time when sardines were called the poor man's steak, not out of pity, but out of power. Sailors carried them across oceans because they were easy to store and full of strength. Mediterranean villages passed them to children as their first real protein, and in parts of West Africa, India, and Southern Europe, they were even fed to new mothers to rebuild blood and brain health after childbirth. They weren't a backup meal, they were prized. But here's the twist. Today, you walk into a supermarket and sardines sit quietly on the bottom shelf, dusty, ignored. Some in spicy tomato sauce, some in soy oil, some labeled boneless, as if the bones were the problem. As if we'd forgotten why they mattered in the first place. And we have forgotten. Most of my patients over 60 tell me the same thing. "Oh, I haven't eaten those since I was a kid. My mom used to mash them up with bread." Some wrinkle their noses. "Ugh, aren't they too salty? Aren't they too fishy? Aren't they full of mercury like tuna?" No, and we'll get to all that. But let me ask you something personal. Why is it that we'll pay $60 for a bottle of omega-3s, $40 for a calcium supplement, $100 for memory pills that make big promises and deliver little, and ignore the one food that actually contains all of those nutrients, informs our aging bodies can absorb, for less than $2 a cam? It's not your fault. The food industry isn't marketing sardines on social media. There's no celebrity chef endorsing them in glowing ads. But if sardines were repackaged into a glossy plastic jar and sold with gold lettering, they'd be in every senior's kitchen by now. Because here's the truth. Sardines are one of the most complete, senior-friendly foods on the planet. They're rich in calcium, not just from the flesh, but from the soft, edible bones. Vitamin D, which helps your body actually absorb that calcium. DHA and EPA omega-3s, the real stuff that feeds your brain and calms inflammation. Protein to fight off muscle loss as you age. B12, critical for memory and energy. CoQ10, a lesser-known helper for heart health. And perhaps most importantly, they come as nature intended, not stripped down, not isolated into pills, not genetically engineered. Still, almost nobody over 60 eats them regularly anymore. Why? Because somewhere along the way, sardines became unfashionable, replaced by breakfast cereals that say heart healthy in bold letters, and drinks with lab-made nutrients, replaced by convenience, by confusion, by canned skepticism. And yet, these little fish are still quietly sitting in your pantry, waiting to rescue your bones, your heart, your mind. You just have to know how to use them, and which ones to avoid. That's where we're headed next. Because George, the patient I mentioned earlier, he was eating sardines, but they weren't the right kind. And he wasn't eating them in a way that gave his bones what they needed. We're going to fix that right now. But first, be honest with me. Have you been ignoring sardines, or maybe you've never even tried them? Type guilty in the comments if that's you. I promise there's no shame here, just a fresh start. Next, let's talk about the part of your body that's silently weakening with every passing year and how the right kind of sardine can help rebuild it from the inside out. Your bones. A cracked bone doesn't always come with a loud snap. Sometimes it starts quietly. A small ache in the hip, a moment of hesitation going down the stairs. That strange feeling when you sit a little too hard and wonder, was that my bones or just the cushion? For George, it wasn't a dramatic fall. It was a stumble, just one misstep getting out of the car. And suddenly, he couldn't stand. Now, here's the part that haunted him most. He didn't feel old. He was active. He ate what the internet called healthy. He even, as he reminded me again, ate sardines. So why did his bones fail? That question sent us on a deeper dive. And where we landed was something I wish every senior over 60 knew. Because sardines, real, whole sardines with the soft bones still inside, are one of nature's richest, most usable sources of calcium. More than most dairy, more than many pills, and, here's the kicker, more absorbable than most fortified foods. You see, it's not just about calcium being present. It's about whether your body can actually use it. And sardines come with the perfect combination. Calcium for your bones, vitamin D to help absorb it, phosphorus to lock it in, and omega-3s to calm the inflammation that quietly eats away at bone density. George had the right idea, eating sardines, but the ones he bought were boneless, which means he was missing the single most important part, the bones. Those soft, pressurized, perfectly edible little spines, they're the treasure. Not only do they contain concentrated calcium, but they also come with trace minerals your bones crave as you age, like magnesium and strontium, all in just the right balance. And yet most people throw them out or avoid them entirely. I once had a patient, Ruth, who said, "Oh, doctor, I always rinse mine underwater before I eat them. I'm scared of the bones." We had a laugh, but she was serious. So let me say this clearly. If you're over 60 and you're worried about thinning bones, you want the bones in your sardines. They're soft, safe, and far more powerful than any chewable tablet. And it's not just about preventing fractures. It's about staying independent, being able to lift your grandchild, getting out of bed with that quiet wince, holding yourself up with confidence, not caution. Now, does that mean sardines alone will rebuild your skeleton? No. Your entire lifestyle plays a role. But here's what's fascinating. In populations where sardines or small bony fish are eaten weekly, like in parts of Portugal, the Philippines, and coastal Japan, osteoporosis rates among elders are significantly lower among elders, even without expensive supplements. It's not a miracle. It's nourishment, done consistently the right way.
So here's a tip you can use tonight. When you shop for sardines, look for the ones packed in water or olive oil with bones and skin intact. They'll give you the full benefit. Mash them into avocado, toss them with a salad, or spread them on whole grain toast. George is doing that now. He didn't give up on sardines, he just started eating the right kind. 3 months into his recovery, his bone scan looked better than we expected. He smiled and said, "I guess I'll stop scraping the good stuff off my fork." And you should too. If bone strength matters to you, if you've ever worried about slipping in the shower or stepping off a curb, give this video a like. It tells me you're listening and that this message is reaching someone who needs it. Next, we move from your bones to the quiet drum keeping rhythm in your chest, your heart. What sardines do to your heart may surprise you even more.
It started with a skipped beat. Margaret, one of my longtime patients, had just turned 71. She was always the type who brushed off little things. "I'm fine," she'd say, "just getting older." But this time felt different. She described it as a flutter, a strange flickering under her ribs, almost like her heart was trying to whisper something, but didn't have the strength to speak clearly. It wasn't a heart attack. Her EKG looked mostly normal, but something wasn't right. So we ran deeper tests. And what we found was a pattern I've seen too many times: a tired, inflamed heart struggling in the background. Not enough to set off alarms, just enough to slowly chip away at her energy, her rhythm, her peace. Now, here's the strange part. Margaret didn't have high cholesterol. She walked every morning. She took her meds exactly as prescribed. So we started looking into her diet. And guess what we found? She hadn't eaten fish in years. "I don't trust fish anymore," she said. "All I hear about is mercury, farm-raised toxins, and weird smells. I'd rather not bother." Can you relate to that? You're not alone. Many seniors have silently sworn off fish, especially oily ones like sardines, out of confusion or concern. But here's what most people never get told. Sardines are one of the safest fish for seniors. They're small, so they don't accumulate mercury like tuna or swordfish. They're wild-caught, not farmed or pumped with antibiotics. And they're loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, the kind your heart literally depends on to function smoothly. Think of your heart like an engine. As we age, it runs hotter, stiffer, more prone to misfiring. Omega-3s act like the oil that keeps the pistons from grinding. In one study, older adults who consumed fish high in omega-3s just twice a week had significantly fewer heart rhythm issues, including atrial fibrillation, which is one of the most common irregularities in seniors. Now here's where sardines shine. While most people run to salmon for omega-3s, sardines actually contain more EPA per ounce and for a fraction of the cost. I started Margaret on a simple habit: 1 can of sardines packed in olive oil twice a week. No fuss, no pressure. Within weeks, she reported something she hadn't felt in months. "I can breathe easier now. My chest doesn't feel so loud anymore." That loudness, that flutter, had softened. Her cardiologist wasn't surprised. Inflammation markers were down, her rhythm more stable. Not cured, but comforted, nourished. So, if you've been avoiding fish because of old fears or confusing headlines, I'd like you to reconsider just one thing. Give sardines another look. Not for the taste, not for the tradition, for your heart. Because sometimes what we feared is the very thing that can help us heal. Subscribe if your heart's been through a lot lately. Whether from loss, stress, illness, or just age, it deserves peace, and you deserve to feel in control of your health again.
Up next, let's go deeper, into the part of your body that's perhaps the most terrifying to lose, and yet may benefit more from sardines than anything else: your brain.
It was the 5th time she lost her glasses that day. They weren't anywhere special, just sitting quietly on the kitchen counter. But Ruth had searched every room. Twice. She was 69, still sharp, still proud, still able to drive and handle her finances. But that afternoon, sitting across from me in a quiet clinic room, she whispered something I'll never forget. "Doc, am I slipping? Is this how it starts?" You could hear the fear in her voice, not fear of aging, but fear of disappearing from herself. It's a fear many seniors never say out loud, not because they don't feel it, but because they don't want to be told it's just normal. Because memory loss, even the small kind, never feels normal when it's happening to you. Ruth wanted to know if she was doing something wrong, if there was anything she could do, anything natural, to protect her mind before it drifted too far. And that's where sardines came up. Not because they're trendy, not because they're fun to eat, but because when it comes to brain health, they offer exactly what aging minds are starving for. Let's break it down. Your brain is made up of nearly 60% fat, and a huge portion of that is DHA, a very special omega-3 fatty acid that your brain must have to stay flexible, sharp, and calm. Now here's the problem. As we age, our DHA levels decline, and so does the brain's ability to repair itself, which affects memory, focus, and even mood. And guess what food contains one of the highest natural concentrations of DHA? You already know. Sardines. But it's not just DHA. Sardines also give you vitamin B12, which protects the myelin sheaths around your nerves. Choline, a nutrient tied to memory and learning. Selenium and CoQ10, both of which help your brain fight oxidative stress, the slow rusting that speeds up cognitive decline. And protein, to support neurotransmitter production like serotonin and dopamine. It's like this tiny fish was designed to keep the lights on upstairs. When I told Ruth that, she laughed. I never thought a smelly little fish could be brain food. Neither did most of my patients, until they started feeling clearer. We created a simple routine. Twice a week, she'd eat sardines on whole grain crackers with a little mustard and dill. Once a week, she'd mash them into a warm vegetable stew, her own twist. No pills, no panic, just real food. 6 weeks in, she came back smiling. I still lose my glasses, but at least now I remember why I walked into the room. We both laughed. That moment, that confidence, was everything. And I don't share this to say sardines will cure dementia or erase years, but I do share it to remind you your brain is still listening, still hungry, still able to respond, even in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. If you've ever walked into a room and forgotten why, or felt that fog that won't lift, hit the bell icon. You're not broken. You're human. And you deserve to feel clear again. Next, though, we have to talk about the part no one likes to mention. Because while sardines are powerful, they can also backfire. Not all cans are equal. And I've seen some seniors feel worse after eating the wrong kind. Let me explain exactly what to look out for and what to avoid.
Not all sardines are good for you, and I wish more people said that out loud. Because just last year, I had a patient named Daniel, 73, newly retired and full of energy, who came in complaining of headaches, swelling in his ankles, and a strange heaviness in his chest. His blood pressure had crept up, his lab work showed inflammation, and the strangest part? He had recently started eating healthier. "I've been eating sardines almost every day, like you said," he told me, half proud, half confused. So we went over his grocery list, and that's when I saw the problem. His pantry was full of sardines packed in soybean oil and others drenched in spicy tomato sauce with over 400 milligrams of sodium per serving. Some came from manufacturers with questionable sourcing practices, and almost all were boneless, skinless, and stripped of the very nutrients his body needed. Daniel had the right idea. He was just eating the wrong kind of sardines. And here's where it gets tricky. The average supermarket shelf holds 5 or 6 different sardine brands, all with small print, long labels, and confusing nutrition facts. Most people just grab the one that looks the least weird or the cheapest and hope for the best. But when it comes to your heart, brain, and bones, the details matter. Let's break down the 3 biggest risks you need to watch for. Mercury myth. This one causes a lot of fear, so let's clear it up. Sardines are low in mercury because they're small and near the bottom of the ocean's food chain. They live short lives and don't have time to accumulate toxins like big fish, such as tuna or mackerel. So mercury isn't the real threat here, not with sardines. Salt bombs. Many canned sardines, especially those in flavored sauces, are loaded with sodium, sometimes over 500 milligrams per can. For seniors managing high blood pressure, heart failure, or kidney issues, that's a dangerous dose. Even mild options can quietly tip the balance over the week. If your ankles swell, if you feel puffy or tired after eating them, it might not be the fish. It might be the salt. Choose brands that say low sodium or are packed in plain water or olive oil. You can always add your own flavor, but once the salt is in the can, it's not coming out. The oil trap. Oils matter a lot. Some sardines come packed in cheap seed oils, like soybean oil or cottonseed oil, which are pro-inflammatory and may cancel out the omega-3 benefits you're trying to get. Your safest bet? Water, extra virgin olive oil, or occasionally mustard, if you check the label. Daniel made one simple switch. He swapped his brand, started choosing sardines with skin and bones, packed in olive oil with less than 200 milligrams of sodium per serving. No more strange sauces, no more boneless labels, just clean, honest fish. Within 3 weeks, his blood pressure was down, the swelling faded, and he told me, "I didn't know one word on the label could make such a difference." So here's my challenge to you. Next time you shop, flip the can over. Look at sodium content, type of oil, whether it says with bones or boneless, and where the sardines were sourced from. Wild caught, preferably in the Atlantic or Pacific. If you feel overwhelmed by it all, don't worry, you're not alone. Have you ever stared at 5 sardine cans and walked away more confused than when you started? Comment "Yep" if that's been you. It might help someone else feel less alone in the aisle. Up next, I'll show you exactly how I guide my own patients, what to eat, when to eat it, and how even small changes with sardines can rebuild trust with your own body. Let's make it simple again.
There's something powerful about feeling in control again. After months, sometimes years of being told what not to eat, what to avoid, and what to fear, my patients light up when they hear this. You can start improving your health with just one $2 can of fish. No gimmicks, no pills, no overnight promises. Just a humble, honest food that works with your body, not against it. Let me show you how I guide my patients, the real people like George and Ruth, who often come in skeptical, overwhelmed, or just plain tired. Because sardines don't need to be fancy. They just need to be real, intentional, and consistent. Step 1. The right can. When I walk someone through this at first, I always say, pretend you're buying this for your heart. Not your taste buds, not your childhood memories, your heart. Look for skin and bones intact, That's where the calcium and minerals live. Packed in water or olive oil, never soybean or cottonseed oil. Low sodium, ideally under 200 milligrams per serving. Wild-caught, sustainably sourced if possible. Most of my patients use brands like Wild Planet, King Oscar, or Bella, but there are plenty of good ones. It's not about the brand, it's about the label. Step 2. When to eat them. I tell my patients, don't wait for the perfect day. Incorporate sardines like this. Twice a week, that's enough to see benefits for your bones, heart, and brain. Lunchtime tends to work best. It keeps the body light and the brain focused. If you're new to it, start small. Even half a can is better than nothing. George, for example, hated the idea at first. Fish in a can, not a chance, doc. So we got creative. Step 3. Make it yours. Here are a few of the ways I've seen sardines win over even the most resistant taste buds. Smashed on whole grain toast with a little avocado and lemon juice. Mixed into mashed sweet potatoes with chopped greens and garlic. Folded into a veggie omelet for a hearty breakfast. Blended with Greek yogurt, lemon, and herbs to make a creamy spread. Even Ruth, who once rinsed hers underwater, now keeps a tin in her purse during travel. Better than a multivitamin, she says. And I agree, because sardines aren't just about nutrients. They're about rhythm. A small, predictable ritual that says, I still care for this body. I'm still in the fight. Step 4. Track what changes. Here's something I recommend to everyone, and maybe you can try this too. Start a small notebook. Call it What I Notice. Each time you eat sardines, jot down how you feel over the next day or two. You might notice less joint stiffness, more mental clarity, less hunger at night, calmer blood pressure readings, or just a little more energy. These little changes stack up, and when they do, they become momentum. Daniel, who once had pounding blood pressure, now texts me sardine recipes he tries every Sunday. George walks his dog again without wincing in pain. And Ruth plays memory games with her granddaughter and actually wins. And they all started in the same place. A simple can, opened with doubt, and finished with hope. If this sounds doable, even just once a week, type, I'll try it in the comments. Your small choice might inspire someone else to take their first step too. Because when it comes to your health, simple doesn't mean small. Simple means sustainable. And coming up next, let's talk about what actually happens if you stick to this. 2 cans a week. That's it. The impact on your bones, heart, and mind might surprise you. Let's close this together.
Sometimes the quiet habits make the loudest difference. Not the 30-day challenges, not the flashy supplements, not the trendy diets that come and go. Just a quiet decision like opening a can of sardines twice a week. That's what George did. He didn't change everything. He didn't become a health guru overnight. He just made one promise to himself. I'll eat them Mondays and Thursdays. No excuses. At first, he wasn't even sure he believed it would help, but 6 weeks in, his energy felt steadier. 9 weeks in, his blood pressure was down. 3 months in, his DEXA scan showed stronger bone density, and he'd made no other changes. And emotionally, he felt proud, like he had found something he could control in a world that often makes seniors feel powerless. Now, I want to set your expectations honestly. Sardines aren't magic. If you're eating fried foods daily, not moving your body, or skipping medications, a can of fish won't fix everything. But when paired with even modest efforts, a bit more walking, a bit more rest, a bit more water, sardines amplify progress in quiet, meaningful ways. Because here's what we've seen in real clinical results and studies. For the brain, DHA from sardines helps protect neurons and reduce the rate of brain shrinkage tied to aging, can support memory retention, mental clarity, and even reduce symptoms of depression in seniors. For the heart, EPA helps calm inflammation, lower triglycerides, and improve heartbeat stability. CoQ10 supports heart energy production, especially in aging cells. For the bones, calcium and phosphorus from soft, edible bones rebuild mineral density. Vitamin D in sardines helps transport that calcium where it belongs, into your bones, not your arteries. And let's not forget how sardines help stabilize blood sugar, reduce appetite and late-night cravings, support muscle repair with complete protein, provide trace minerals like selenium and iodine often missing in senior diets. All of this for a food that costs less than a loaf of bread. It's simple, it's proven, and it's been waiting in your pantry all along. So what happens when you eat sardines twice a week? You give your body a chance to feel nourished, not just fed. You support your organs without overwhelming them. You create a small promise to yourself, and you keep it. That's not a diet. That's dignity. Ruth still sends me emails. Daniel shares his new low-sodium favorites with other patients. And George? He's helping his grandson learn to ride a bike this summer. He told me the other day, "Doc, it's not just what sardines gave back to me. It's what they let me keep." Your story could be next. If this video gave you a new way to think about aging, nourishment, or even hope, share it with someone you love, especially someone who's been afraid to look inside the can. And if you've already made sardines part of your life, drop a comment below and tell us how you prepare them. You might inspire someone halfway around the world. Before we close, I want to leave you with this. Sardines can do a lot, but they're not the whole story. Because there's something missing, a quiet food that supercharges sardines' impact on the brain, especially for seniors over 65. We're talking better recall, less fog, even sharper eyesight. And most people ignore it completely. That's what we're diving into next. The $1 food that activates your brain's natural repair system and pairs perfectly with sardines. Don't miss it. Your brain will thank you.